What's going on, everybody, and welcome to CS5 Unmasked. Today I'm going to be showing you a technique on how to create the skeletal zombie hands for your Jason Part 7 costume, and how much it actually cost me to make mine. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, starting off, we're going to need some 100% silicone for this to actually work. Now, this silicone does come in different colors, but being as brown's going to be my main color, I'm going to go ahead and use the brown silicone. Now, if you didn't have access to brown silicone, using clear or white mixed with some brown acrylic paint will work out just fine. We're also going to need some rubber or vinyl gloves for protection, a couple empty cans of spray paint, a set of mannequin hands, and a dark brown pair of opera gloves or a dark brown morph suit. Anything will actually work as long as it can stretch and expand. And finally, a good roll of masking tape. Any tape will actually work, but masking tape is actually quite easy to work with, and it's also easy to remove. Alright, real quick, so the question's going to get asked, well, what do I do if I don't have a set of mannequin hands? Well, a much cheaper solution is actually just using a set of markers and some old water bottles. You just take the markers and put them in each one of the fingers of the gloves, and then just take your empty water bottles and flatten them out and just put them in the sleeve. Now, this is a little crude and it doesn't look that great, but if you're strapped for cash, this is a good alternative. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Now, using the masking tape, I'm just going to go ahead and tear off a piece and just secure the cap to the spray can. I don't want this coming off in the middle of what I'm doing, because if there's any paint left in the can, I don't want it coming out. Now, once the cap is secure, I'm going to go ahead and attach the mannequin hands to each one of the spray cans. Okay, now moving on to the gloves. Now, it is very important when you actually order something from online to do a very thorough inspection, because of any rips or tears that may be on the glove will actually become extremely worse the more times you wear them. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and proceed to make the bones for the zombie skeleton hands. Now, originally I was just using an old t-shirt that I had lying around, but I came across this particular pillowcase that I had that was completely stained up. So I figured this was going to be a perfect choice. I'm going to go ahead and cut a few strips of the pillowcase and match them up to the size of the fingers. And once I'm satisfied with that, I'll proceed to actually get bigger pieces for the other bones that are in the hand. And then, of course, a few long strips for the forearm. Once I'm actually satisfied with the size, a little bit of trimming is actually necessary. Alright, now that everything is the size that I want, one by one I'm going to go ahead and set it off to the side and proceed to get the brown silicone ready to use. Alright, we're going to go ahead and grab some vinyl gloves, which is actually going to help us when we apply the silicone. Besides being a great barrier between the silicone and your hands, it makes cleanup extremely easy. You can just peel the gloves off and then throw them away. Okay, let's go ahead and apply the silicone. I'm going to push a little bit out into my hand, and then I'm going to apply it directly to the glove. I'm going to put a very thin layer over the fingers and the hand. Alright, now one by one, we're going to go ahead and reapply our cloth bones onto the fingers and the hand. Using a little bit of gentle pressure, we're going to go ahead and push it down into the silicone. We want to make sure that it actually sticks really well, because when we apply more silicone, we don't want it moving around. Now, one of the great things about actually creating these skeletal zombie hands is it doesn't have to be perfect. You're trying to simulate rotted flesh and exposed bones, so if the placement isn't right, it's really not going to matter too much, and it's still going to look really good. Okay, now we're literally just going to repeat the exact same process for the actual forearm of the glove. A thin layer of the silicone, and then just take the two cloth bones and apply it to the arm of the glove. Alright, now we're just going to repeat this process again for the other hand. We're going to allow it to dry for at least a couple of hours before we're going to apply any more silicone. We want to make sure that the cloth bones are really stuck to the actual glove. The last thing we want is for it to actually come up and ruin all the hard work that we've already done. These actually do look pretty good, and the bones seem to have stuck really well. So when we continue applying more silicone, the one thing you got to be very leery of is not to put too much silicone around the wrist of this glove. If you do apply too much, it's not going to stretch, and when you put your hand inside, it's actually going to tear the glove. I'm only going to put a very minimal amount on the wrist and actually bottom of the arm, because the main portion of the skeletal zombie hand that everyone's going to see is going to be on the very top, which is the main reason why you wanted to go with a dark brown glove to begin with, so you can kind of get away with not using as much silicone as you need to. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and apply a little bit of silicone to the actual bones on the glove. I'm just going to try to make it look like there is some bone separation, so it actually kind of looks like a skeletal hand. I'm just going to put some silicone over the joints of the fingers and over the hand. And then I'm going to put some on the bones for the actual forearm, just to kind of build a little bit of thickness to kind of look like rotted flesh. Alright, now we're going to let them set overnight and make sure it dries properly. Okay, and so here's two different versions of the skeletal zombie hands. The one on the left is obviously the opera gloves, and the one on the right is the dark brown morph suit. I think they actually turned out really well, and the cool thing is, every time you make these, they're going to be a little bit different than the one that you made before, which gives it a very unique look. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and break down on how much it actually cost me using the opera gloves and also using the morph suit. Okay, the opera gloves themselves I picked up on Temu, and I spent about $1.50 on them, so that was actually a pretty good deal. The brown silicone, vinyl gloves, and masking tape I picked up at my local reclaim store, and I paid around $4 for it. As far as the stained pillowcase, I've had that for an extremely long time and I've used it for many projects, and it was a Goodwill purchase for around $2. So it was actually just over $7 to create these skeletal zombie hands. As far as creating the skeletal zombie look for my Jason Part 7 on the morph suit, it cost around $29, which all honesty really isn't a bad price, being as the biggest purchase was the actual morph suit that I got on Amazon. Now if you are wondering how much the mannequin hands cost, these were actually gifted to me, so I didn't pay anything for them. But on Amazon they do run about $14 if you were thinking about getting the set for yourself. Now the great thing about using this particular method, not only can you use it just for a skeletal zombie hands, you can also integrate it with any part of the body, the bones in the legs, or even the rib cage if you wanted to. Now I know there's probably 100 different ways on how to actually create rotted zombie flesh with exposed bones, but this is a method that I actually use quite often, and it's the one that I'm most familiar with. So if you guys have any suggestions or methods that you want to share on how you created your skeletal zombie hands, let me know in the comments below. Alright everybody, until next time, this is CS5 signing out, and I hope to see you in the next video.